So, when I was a kid, probably my highest played game was Minecraft, and I think back to the best maps that I had because I put hours into this game, and they were always the natural terrain maps. So basically, in Minecraft, you can do super flat, where it's just like a flat land, and the idea is you just build anything you want. But this made me worse. This made me so much worse. My maps on super flat were just absolutely shit compared to my normal natural terrain ones and my survival ones. And the reason for this was, I was quite a creative kid, but when you were faced with a blank slate, it was so much harder to build something new than it was when you were faced with problems, like a shit terrain, like a shit map. Because when you build something, or when you're trying to get something off the ground, it's easier to work around problems and use them as the framework of what you're trying to build rather than having on in the first place. So in this analogy, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you come travelling for the first time, when you leave the West and you pack your job in that you fucking hate and you've got a load of free time, you do find yourself in a bit of a problem-free environment. And because of that, a lot of people do lose sight. You get a lot of crowd coming out here saying, I'm here to find myself, and they never do that. The rest of their lives spent in pursuit of basically trying to get back out to a place like, for where I am, I live in Bali. They spend the rest of their life trying to get back out here because they never actually find themselves. They become dependent on a location because, it's a low cortisol, stress-free way of living, and they mistake that for their own self-improvement, and in reality, it's just the environment that they're in. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, having no problems presents a problem in itself, that you can't navigate the terrain that is your own personality and your own mind and find what your weaknesses and your strengths are, because life don't push them out of you. I'll give you an example. So last year I worked abroad as a ticket seller, so I'd approach groups of people, stick it on them and try and sell them boat party tickets. And this were an example. It was quite unique because I'd gone out with a job, right? I found that I had a weakness, which were approaching people and starting conversations with strangers. I had a massive anxiety around doing it, and because I were able to find that weakness, that then presented an opportunity to me that I would spend the next year making content about. If I'd never had that experience, probably I wouldn't have started making content in the first place. But a lot of people, they don't get that because they just come out here and they sit on a beach, they watch the sunset, they have a bintang, they fucking go out for dinner, and they stay here for 2 weeks, and then they move on, and the novelty carries them through it, and they never stop to think. And then the development never comes. So the problem that travel presents is that it removes all your problems, and then you're left with nothing. You're left with no war to fight, you're left with no enemy, which sounds like a good thing, but you start to turn inwards, like the fucking Friedrich Nietzsche quote. You start to attack yourself, punish yourself. I've been posting content since July last year, and since I came out here, we're 6 weeks in today, I think, and I struggled. I massively struggled because I had no war to fight anymore. I had no enemy, and it's only in diving deep and looking into my own values, looking at who I am, not what I've done, not what I've earned, what I've built, just who I am, what my values are, that I've been able to find something to work on again. Because if you're the sort of individual who, you want something out of life, it's not enough to be just sat on a fucking beach, watching sunset with a beer in your hand. It's not enough. You just feel a certain guilt around it. Do you know what I mean? As perfect and picturesque as you might think it is, you just feel crazy guilt. So you've got to be coming here and working on something, and that'd be my advice to anyone who wants to come and travel, or anyone who wants to follow my advice on, the 6 months, save money, and then come and travel for 6 months. My advice would be, come somewhere with the aim of living there. Don't fucking backpack, because you the amount of self-development that people get from backpacking Like, it's the most overrated thing ever. Anyone who's ever backpacked, I always find, like I say, that they're itching to get back out because they never actually developed anything from it. So, come out here with the intention of living out here, and you come out here with something that you're going to build, whether that be an agency, whether that be content like my thing is, whether that be coaching. You've got to have something that is your North Star. You've got to have a water fight, you've got to have an enemy, because if not, you'll lose yourself and you'll start to punish yourself for being out here. I had to really give my head a wobble a few days ago, because I'm spending money here, I don't know what the fuck for, like, I'm just wasting time. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's zero use or productivity to just seeing the world. I think the stuff that it opens your eyes up to, the lifestyles that you'll see and semi-dabble in, you can't really unsee it, and it might, put a rocket up your arse where you're right, this is what I'm going for now. I mean, I went to Ibiza in 2023, and that was the thing that made me start making serious money just inside a job, because I was like, right, I want to come back next year and I want to just, I want to do this VIP, I want to get this hotel room, and it sounds superficial, and it is, I was 19-year-old, but also, it led to me making more money, it led to me self-improving, so it's not all, a bad thing. So there is definitely benefits from just moving around on its own, but the real benefit comes from when you can come here and you can use the freedom that you've got, you can use the peace of mind that you've got, the low cortisol lifestyle, and you can use that in a way that actually benefits you towards a goal that you're working on. So whether that be content, coaching, agency, whatever you want to do, because you will get more ideas, you will get more inspiration. So don't come out here thinking that, just the beach and the restaurant, the drinks is enough, because you will lose yourself. And again, like I say, if you do want to do the 6 month on, 6 month off thing, I really recommend that you just look internally at what your values are. I don't think it's worth looking at what you're good at, because I could be in sales, like I could be a remote closer. I fucking hate it. Like, my values are not remote closer. My values contradict with sales a lot. That's why I ended up burning out with it. Like, I'm not a chase guy. It's not who I am. It's not in the sense of, like, because I do the cold approach and stuff like that, but I will not convince someone that I am eligible. Like, it's not my values. I'm a bit of an hit and go sort of machine gun approach sort of guy. So my values conflicted with it massively. So I stopped looking at what I was good at and started looking at, what my values are. My values personally are, I just like doing different shit. I like taking risks. I like putting myself on the line to learn a lesson from it, and in hopes to unlock a deeper part of myself that I can actually use for my own gain, for, like I say, for content, for business, whatever. And that's shown up a few times in my life through the cold approach stuff, through quitting my job, through coming out here with nothing, guaranteed. So those are my values, and a lot of it is finding the weaknesses that you've had in your life that have shaped those values. Like, one of my massive weaknesses a few years ago was dating. I was just head over heels for one girl, always had a deficiency in dating, and that were where I found the need to massively overachieve and reach that baseline. And obviously that shaped the projection of my content for the last year or so. So I've had a weakness and I've fixed it. And I think that's a lot of where your message comes from. That's a lot of where the strength in you as an individual comes from. So maybe stop trying to take the approach of have no problems. Maybe find the problem that hits closest to home and fix it, and then talk about that. That is where a lot of the benefit comes from. That's where I think you can find a work task that really is close to home. But the point that I wanted to make anyway, I've kind of just gone on a waffle, but travelling does fix nearly all your problems, but that in itself causes a new problem. And that new problem is a lack of direction, it's a lack of problems, a lack of shaping of that mental landscape with the fucking awkward mountains and the river that you can't build through. That stuff all seems so bad, it all seems so annoying, but you don't understand that is the basis of your framework that you've built your life around. Like, if your job weren't an hour away walking, would you learn to drive? No, but learning to drive is objectively a good thing. Like, it's only a positive. Like, there's no drawback to learning to drive, even if you didn't need to. But if you didn't need to learn to drive, you wouldn't have. Do you know what I mean? So it's what is it, the quantum beta paradox or some shit like that? I think there's a word for it. But yeah, the lack of problems is only a blessing if you know how to deal with it. And I think after 6 weeks here, sat here on the beach again, sun's just set, it's getting dark, I have only just realised how to deal with it. So anyone who's doing the 6 months on, 6 months off thing, just bear in mind what I've said. You've probably not thought about it. I never thought about it. All I thought about was, fucking hell, I'm 2 weeks away, my plane's gonna I didn't give a shit. So just think about it, because you don't want to waste it. You don't want to get here and waste 5 weeks or 6 weeks, kind of like I have. So bear it in mind. I'm going to make another video on exactly how it looked in the 6 months to get here, because I think I explained it a few months ago when I wasn't here, and I think now the perspective that I'll be able to give from the other side will be quite insightful. So I'll make another video on that. But anyone travelling, anyone doing anything like this, private message me if there's anything that you want advice. I'd say I'm fairly experienced in this shit now, so yeah, I'll try and get back to you all. Anyway, I'm fucking off home. I'm gonna get some food down me. Gonna go to the gym tomorrow morning with Creator Club boys, so leg session. They are few and far between, so I want to make sure I'm up and ready for it. So boys, it's been a pleasure. Have a good night. Fucking, what time is it in UK? 11 o'clock. Boys, have a good Sunday. All the best. Mwah.